Well, hey, welcome to Speaking of Horses. Once again, we're going to go back and visit some interviews I love to have done. And this one, we're going to start off with Jack Brainard in Tennessee, already in his 90s. And we want to give a great big thank you to Total Equine supporting Speaking of Horses.
The rural American lifestyle. It's how we work, and it's how we play. It's how we learn and how we enjoy the finer things in life. How we take care of our animals and tend to the land. It's a way of life. Has been for hundreds of years. Now there's a whole new way for rural America to watch TV.
Hey, we're here at the Southern Equine Expo with Speaking of Horses, and man, I'm really honored to be sitting next to Mr. Jack Brainard. Jack's been doing clinics here all weekend, so welcome to the show, Jack. And how'd you like this expo?
Oh, I think it's fabulous. I think it's the best one I've been to, and I don't know when. It was great. Fabulous. The reason being, we had lots of talent, both horse and horsemanship-wise, and there's lots going on. Do you realize that we had 4 arenas going full blast for 3 days and something going on every one of them? So there's really some action around here, and it was great.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Now, you still living in Texas, right?
Yes, sir, I do. I live in a little town called Whitesboro, north of Dallas, about an hour.
Yep, I'm familiar with that area a little bit. I used to work with a veterinarian up there, and I'm trying to think of the name of the town, and it's escaped me now, but it's okay. But it's about an hour north of Dallas. It's close. It's very close to Deion Sanders' house up there.
Oh, that's sure. That would be at Pilot Point. He's in that area right there.
Right.
Or Tioga.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the area.
Yep. That's about where you're at, right?
Yes, that's right where it is.
So now, tell us, how long have you been working horses?
Oh, I don't know anything else. I had a Shetland pony. Well, I grew up on a ranch in South Dakota, and I had a Shetland pony when I was 3 years old, and I haven't been off a horse since. With the exception of when I was in the Army. I didn't get to ride then, but other than that, I've been on a horse nearly every day of my life, nearly.
They wouldn't put you in anything to do with horses or mules in the Army, huh?
And I wanted to. I tried to get into the cavalry so bad, but they didn't have any, and it was...
well, just a handful.
Yeah, just a handful.
But it's really impressive. I got some footage. We're going to show some footage in a minute of you riding last night. It was nice to see you on a horse. And tell everybody how old you are again.
Well, I'll be 93 in August.
Yeah. I hope I'm doing that good at 93.
I do too. I've been extremely fortunate. I've had a few setbacks, medical, some injuries and that type of stuff, but I feel great.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're getting around here good. You're over there getting stuff out of your bag. You're walking around, bending over. I saw you go down and do a clinic yesterday. You climbed through the rails of the fence, and, you're doing very, very good for 92, 93 years old. And
I hope it stays that way.
I'm like old, I forget who it was. I used to say, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself, right?
Right.
But it's really an honor to be with you. I know you've been so instrumental in the horse industry and judging and training and working with horses, and now a lot with cowboy dressage as well.
This is a new concept. Basically, it shouldn't be, but it is. It's a merger of old world horsemanship with modern cowboy. You must remember, when we're talking history, the Europeans were doing fabulous things 500 years before the cowboy came along. So they know much more about a horse than the American cowboy does, because he's a beginner, really, in the horsemanship world.
Right.
So whenever we begin to combine those old world authorities with the way they did things, we got a lot to learn. Yeah. And we're doing it And it's, you know, we're seeing a tremendous improvement of our horses because we've borrowed some of those dressage principles.
As soon as we get over the fact of machoism, that maybe there's other ways to do it and learn from it, don't just say, oh, I know how to do that, right?
That's exactly right. You don't know how to do it, but that's a lame man excuse. Oh, yeah. I see it all the time. Say, oh, yeah, I'll show him a move on a horse. I say, here's a move on. Oh, my horse can do that. Well, he can, maybe, after a fashion, but a long ways from doing it correctly.
Yeah. Guy says, just watch this, right? Famous last words, just watch this.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack, it's been a pleasure talking with you. And thank you for joining us,
Good.
and we hope to see you here next year.
That's the deal. Can't wait to see you again. If you get in my country, stop and see me.
I will. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jack Brainard. Thank you. Well, here we are again. We're at the Hoosier Horse Fair in Indianapolis, and we're bringing you a lot of highlights. And one of the highlights here is a lady that has a wonderful presentation, not only with trick horses, both miniature and full size, but you also do some dressage rides, some classical rides,
yes.
And has a very well, you've got a very storied background in performing with horses anyway. So Heidi Harriet is here, and I'm really glad to have her sitting beside me. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to entertaining like you're doing it.
Well, Wayne, thanks for talking today. I am a third-generation entertainer, horse trainer, and horse lover. So I use a method handed down by my grandfather, my father, and then my mother and all my sisters as well have been horse trainers and performers. So I kind of consider myself an entertainer first, and what I want to do is make sure I provide an entertaining presentation when I'm out here, whether I'm doing a show or clinics or demonstrations. So that's really my goal, and it seems to be going over well. It's a little different approach than a lot of the other folks use.
Well, you know what's interesting is people, whether they're deep into horses or just into them for fun or whatever, the nice part of it is everybody wants to come and learn about how to do something with their horse, but then they want to go do it. So they want to have the fun part of it tied to everything else.
Exactly. And the other thing is that you don't have to be a horse person to enjoy our shows. So if the public is just coming out here because they heard there's something to do here in Indianapolis, the Hoosier Horse Fair, they can come out, and I'm doing the clinic for the folks who want to learn, but I'm also entertaining for the folks who are just looking for something to do and have fun, and we know that people like to be entertained. But then I do follow up with my website and videos so that people can take this home and apply it. And I think that's important because there's so much information coming at you at a place like this. You want to make sure you can take it home and put it into use.
And that's what makes the whole thing such a nice package, is the fact that people can come out and learn how you do this and learn how this works. So you have a lot more than just, you know, watch my show at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
You can say, watch my show at 5 o'clock, but you can also say, come at 4 o'clock and I'll show you how we do all this, and you can apply it at home.
That's right, and we're trying my safety first with my program, so we're showing you how to do everything, and I encourage people to have fun with it. If they want to then go down to their church and do a little show with their horses or that, there's room for all of us. I'm not giving away secrets. This is stuff that we've showed people how to do over the years. My father's always been great about asking people to come and see, but it can be boring because there's a lot of repetition involved. So although we're putting it out there for folks, we're not worried that people are just going to go. And if they do get going with it and have fun with it, God bless them. There's room for all of us. I wish them well. I really do.
Well, the beautiful part of it is horses are such an important part of our history as mankind from the start, okay? And the horse will never leave us. Their role may change slightly, but the horse will never leave us. And there's no better way to, what's the old saying? There's been many people quoted with this, but you know, the inside of a horse, or the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a man.
Yes.
I bet there's 100 people have claimed to have been the one that said that, but it's true.
And you know what is another great saying is that in America the West was discovered by not only man, but beside every footprint was a hoof print. So they're a part of our American heritage as well. And they're so good for you. And the thing I love about trick horse training and the stuff I'm showing people is that it's a great way to have a positive interaction with your horse. Horse shows are wonderful. I've never been a competitive horse show person. Again, my background comes from the entertainment side and working with horses professionally. So I love that I'm offering something to folks. I hear from a lot of people they can't afford horse shows, or they can't afford the travel, or maybe they just don't get into it. This is a way to have such a great interaction with your horse and keep going with your horse, but to do it in a different manner. And I love that. I want people to have that opportunity.
So, if people want to get a hold of you, how's the best way to contact you? We got to get the plug in here, right?
There you go. Well, my website is horsetricks.com, and it's Trix, all one word, horsetricks.com. My email's on there, Heidi@horsetricks.com. And I'm going to be at some other shows coming up as well. I'll be at the Midwest Horse Fair. I'll be all summer at Circus World in Baraboo, Wisconsin, just outside of the Dells. Lucky Star has his own showcase there, and he's back by popular demand. And then I'm going to go do a Dances with Horses for a Therapeutic Riding Association in Waterloo, Iowa in late September, and then I'll be putting my fall tour together. But I travel around the United States, and I love doing clinics and seminars as well as my performances.
Well, be sure and get a hold of Heidi. She does a great job. I'll be with you next week in Madison.
Fantastic, good. I'm sure we'll be busy, but hopefully we'll bump into each other.
Horses. Piranha! Oh no! Oh, the humanity! Oh, piranha.
Welcome to the world of orange slow feeder, the longest lasting, highest quality slow feed net in the world. We currently have 12 different sizes, and we have anywhere from a small trailer net clear up to a 6x6 round bale or a 4x4 8 square bale net. And you can contact us at orangeslowfeeder.com. We also have a Facebook page, and we're at Pinterest, and we'll be on Twitter soon.
Hey, welcome to Speaking of Horses, and we're in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And a beautiful facility, the Miller Coliseum. Actually, you can see some depictions behind us. The Southern Equine Expo is going on here, and a gentleman that I run into many times around the country, more than we care to mention, sometimes. I guess, is with me today, and I'm really glad to have him with us. It's Mr. Robert Eversole.
Yes.
And he has a company, a website, everything called Trailmeister.
Trailmeister. Trail, M-E-I-S-T-R.
So if you took a little German in school, or you are German, then you know what the Meister part of it is. But anyway, Robert, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the site. By the way, is about places to go trail ride and all your adventures trail riding. So
yes.
Tell us how you got into this.
Well, I got into horses like a lot of folks late in life. I met my wife through a therapeutic horse riding program. Decided I wanted to hang out with her more, and that meant learning about horses.
Now, I notice you're listed as an instructor with PATH.
Yes, I am a registered instructor with PATH International. I am the Wednesday night guy at Free Rein in Spokane.
Wow.
And my kiddos are the best in the world.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, PATH is the governing body over all of the therapeutic riding programs in North America.
It is, and it's a long process to get certified. At least it was for me. It was a lot of work. It was worse than grad school, but it makes my heart happy to work with the children and adults with challenges and to teach equitation. It is phenomenal. I'm blessed to be able to do it. But you asked about Trailmeister and what I do. That's kind of how I got into horses. And so after we started volunteering and teaching at therapeutic centers, well, then that led into horses of our own. And then being a good Midwestern boy, I had to have a job for the horses. So we joined a mounted search and rescue. At East Fork State Park, volunteer mounted search and rescue, east of Cincinnati. And that was fabulous, and that led into trail riding. My very first trail saddle was a dressage rig that I drilled D's into. But it worked. And that led, the trail riding led into, where are new places to ride? What can I expect there? What are the rules? What are the regs? Can I back my trailer up to turn around? And I just couldn't find good information. And so I decided that I'd create my own, and that's how Trailmeister got started. Over 2,000 places now across North America and Canada.
Are all listed on your site.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah. Now, you do reviews on these places too, right?
I do reviews. A lot of people send in information. I dearly wish that I could go to all these places, but I can't. So people send in information, and before they go live on the site, either myself or one of my trail bosses has a conversation with the land manager to make sure that all the information is copacetic. Because the last thing I want to do is have an adventure just getting to an area.
Right, and you don't want to put out details on a place that, years
that aren't true.
Yeah, years ago, when I worked for a power company, they had a program where if you were building a total electric house, then you got your service free to you. I mean, there was no charge for putting in the service to your meter, no matter where you were. There were two guys in southern Indiana had a shack put up, and they had to build 3 miles of line through the woods to get to this house because it was total electric, and what it was a hunting shack with 2 light bulbs.
Oh,
That's
my.
it. The money would never be recouped, so, it met the letter of the law, so to speak.
Right.
But it sure wasn't what anybody expected, so that's what you're trying to.
Yes, I'm trying to let people avoid that.
Right.
And so far, it's just been fabulous. The website somehow turned into the clinician circuit, and it's been phenomenal.
Well, yeah, because you're going on now. Well, I was with you in Pomona, California
Yes.
a few weeks ago. And, you've got a lot of places you're going now. You're telling people about what you're putting all this data together and my wife and I trail ride. And,
Hopefully everybody listening trail rides.
well, that's the idea. But, we are always, we know the favorite places we like to go, but then you're always thinking, I'd like to try someplace different. And if you haven't been there, who wants to hook up and take the gooseneck and the horses and drive 500 miles and discover you don't have any?
Right. Or worse, feeling like you have to take the car for a long trip just to make sure that everything's all right. I think a lot of us have gone that route.
Right.
And life's too short for that.
So you trail ride a lot of places though, right?
A few.
You do some stuff up in the mountains, backpacking and the like. So tell us about some of those excursions.
Oh heavens! The older I get, I used to think trail riding and day rides were just the best thing in the world, and then I discovered horse camping at the trailhead and established horse camps, and then I fell in with some bad influences, some fellas from the Backcountry Horsemen organization. And they started taking me into the backcountry, and that's how I got introduced to packing. So now I'm blessed to be able to do some volunteer packing for the Forest Service, packing in trail crews, work parties, things like that through the summer. So I've kind of moved from trailhead camping more to the backcountry trips, and I wind up spending most of my summers in wilderness areas now, and it's fabulous. It's glorious.
And you still live around Spokane, Washington,
yes,
right?
yes, just outside of Spokane.
So, and that's gorgeous country. You can get over into Coeur d'Alene, Idaho very quickly.
Coeur d'Alene is great.
Gorgeous territory.
It is. I'm 3 hours from the west side of the Bob Marshall Wilderness, twice the size of Rhode Island, 1.5 million acres of wilderness. No wheels, no machines, just us and the horses and the bears and the lions.
We always say, and it's been said many times, that you can travel this country by car and see what man has made, but you can travel it by horseback and see what God has made.
That is so true.
And it's just gorgeous. You can't beat it, You're out there in those wildernesses that are untouched.
Yes.
All the wildlife is there, and the deer in the area, they haven't seen many other, so, your horses are coming, they're right there looking at you.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
what is that? They haven't had the experiences of being spooked away.
Exactly.
And they don't know that they're supposed to go down the highway and cross at that sign that says deer crossing.
Oh, heavens. Well, you're so far away from that sign at the highway.
I'm kidding,
it's
because
something.
that's an old joke about a lady that
Yeah.
thought that was put up so they could, never mind. That's a long story. But
Oh, my.
it's a lot of fun, and your site gathers all the information you can acquire on these places.
Correct.
Verifies the information.
Correct.
So that people that want to trail and you want to find someplace around the country, you got maps, you got details, you got all that on Trailmeister, and that's spelled Meister, Trailmeister, all one word, .com. And you can look it all up. Now, you're speaking here. Where do you go from here?
From here, I got to go home for a week, and then I'll be in Albany, Oregon.
I will be there with you.
It's a small world.
I'll be in Albany, Oregon.
Yeah, and then from Albany, it's the Midwest
Horse Fair.
in Madison, and then Minnesota the following weekend.
You are busy.
Yeah, it's.
You're almost as busy chasing these around as I am.
I think so. But it's been this weekend has been. You know, I tell people what works for me, and hopefully through some of my misadventures, people can learn what not to do or what they want to try.
Yeah.
And to have this room, you can't see it here, but this is a big room, and to have it standing room only for some of these talks where we talk about things to carry in case of an emergency,
Right.
or that type of stuff. It makes my heart happy.
Well, you see, but that's where you go beyond just a directory.
Yes.
I mean, I'm holding right here, for those of you that are watching this on camera rather than listening on radio, it's a trail directory from the state of Tennessee for the horse trails, which I just picked up, so
Right,
I
which
can
is a
have
fabulous guide,
Yeah,
yes.
it is. But it doesn't go into a lot of the other things, and you go another step in your talks, and you talk about things you need to take on the ride, stuff you need to have. We were just discussing before this interview first aid kits.
Yes.
A basic first aid kit, so because
And the knowledge to use it.
and the knowledge to use it, absolutely. So there's a lot of things, a lot of other details that you bring to the program, and that's
Thank
why
you.
that's why you had standing room only. There's a lot of directories.
Yes,
But
there
you
are.
take the directory, research the places so that people trust your opinion, and then you come with the rest of the, as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story.
And that's
and
true.
there it is,
And, with having that, and that puts a lot of pressure on me to make sure that the directory, that Trailmeister, stays up to date. The last thing I want to do is, by error or omission, give somebody the bad
Right.
scoop. So we're constantly going through, constantly updating, because I want our adventures to be on the trail, not otherwise.
Right. I've had some of the otherwises over
Oh,
the years.
heavens,
Well,
yes.
so has everybody.
Yes.
Okay? And there are times I said, man, I just got lucky there.
Yes.
The good Lord was watching out for me because I wasn't handling it on my own.
Oh, heavens.
But anyway, we're about to run out of time here, but it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
And again, the website for Robert is www.trailmeister.com, and check him out. Check out what he has to show you. Trailmeister, they've got nice little cards, but all the details are there. And also, if you have trail ride symposiums, if you're into trail riding, you have horse fairs or expos, where you need somebody to really address things, get a hold of Robert.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here on Speaking of Horses. We're in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
They are our family, and we only want the best for them. No standing water means clean, good tasting, algae-free, mosquito-free, and virus-free water. No risk of electric shock, no risk of fire from faulty wiring. Cool water in the summer, warm water in the winter. Water delivered fresh from the water supply at 50 degrees year-round. Drinking Post Water.
Timeless fence systems, they're non-conductive, they're self-insulating, they're maintenance-free. Beyond that, they're very easy to install. They'll last for years and years. Timeless.
We are live on Speaking of Horses, and we're also recording this interview, but we're here for our final day of the Northwest Horse Fair. We're in Albany, Oregon, an hour or so south of Portland.
Yes.
Gorgeous area. And this morning, I mean, we've had Aton with Cowboy Dressage. We'd had Ray Lockard on the show on Friday morning with general training and his horsemanship practices. But not to be forgotten, we have dressage this morning, and we have one of the best around. We have Dolly Hannon with us. And looking at your bio again, I mean, you've competed for many years at Grand Prix level in dressage. You're also a judge, a certified instructor for judges, for students. You've not only helped a lot of adults, but you've worked a lot with the kids, bringing them on into dressage. So briefly, just give everybody a little bit of background on your history.
Okay, well, I was born in Westport, Connecticut, and went to Colorado to go to Colorado State University. Ended up staying there, got married. I received a degree in horticulture with a minor in animal science, and started taking riding lessons for gym credit, just for fun, because I didn't quite click with some of the other gym programs. And I met my first dressage instructor, Melinda Weatherford, at that time, and was hooked. So I worked in the horticultural field for a couple of years, got married, and started working in the horse industry full-time a couple of years later. My first job was for Janet Foy, who's a very well-known international dressage judge, and worked at the same barn in Golden, Colorado, Table Mountain Ranch, for over 30 years. I now train out of a barn called Legacy Valley Farm, which is just a few minutes away from Table Mountain, and I've stayed in that Golden, Arvada area the whole time. And it's been a wonderful journey for me, because I was not an overly talented rider. I didn't start with a fancy horse. I started with a little appendix quarter horse who would jump anything and had a heart as big as you can imagine, but he wasn't a big warm blood. And I asked my first instructor if she thought I could do this professionally. Now, we're talking many years ago, and she said, yeah, I think if you work really hard. So that's kind of been my motto, and I've worked my way up. I'm a senior dressage judge. I judge about 25, 28 dressage shows all over the country every year, and I'm the current chairperson of the USDF Freestyle Committee. Freestyle, riding to music, is one of my real passions, and spend a lot of time working on the committee. And I feel very fortunate every day to get up and teach people how to ride. I teach people of all ages. I have people from age 12 up to, I don't know, maybe 70. So it's a wonderful life, and it's so wonderful to work with people and affect their life in terms of their life with horses. I mean, horses have so much more of an impact than just learning how to ride. So it's a great life. I'm very fortunate every day.
Well, you know, when you get to do something for a career that you really love, you really don't work in a day in your life. You go out every day and you enjoy.
Yes, you do. And my father, who's passed away, had many years ago encouraged me to judge, because he was worried about me riding those horses. You know, he thought those horses were going to get me off for sure, and they did. But he kept saying, you know, I'd really like for you to do more judging. And one of my first judging jobs, it was pretty funny. I was somewhere in the middle of the country in a horse trailer, and it was pouring rain. And my father came to see, and he walked up and he said, "Oh, I had envisioned such a more glamorous life for you, and it didn't quite happen that way. But every time I'm in an area like this that is so beautiful, giving a presentation in front of so many people, or I'm judging on the coast of San Diego, I think of my father, and I think, okay, you'd be pleased now, because it is a wonderful career."
Yeah. Well, it is, and we were just talking before we started. I'm just an average horseman. I just ride. I trail ride. I have fun with my horses. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a great rider. I just have fun. But doing this with the broadcasting and announcing, I've met a lot of wonderful people. I've gone to a lot of neat things, including announcing at WAG at Lexington 4 years ago. And I'm working hard to get to Normandy. If I can just get some sponsorship, I can be there doing some coverage just like this. Yeah. But it's really amazing the number of people that I've met and gotten to work with just by being around the horses.
Speaking of horses, would like to thank Source Nutrition.